I'm going to put you on mute until you're good, and then I'll jump off quick assist as soon as you're good.
Hey, can you guys hear me today? I'm very sorry about our tech issues. It seems like every time I go out of town, then we end up not able to go live. So if you guys can let me know that you're here and you can hear me, that would be great. Okay. All right. Yay. I got people calling. Thank goodness for my friend Amanda, who is a genius and can fix things out. We had to switch over our all of our microphones. So anyway, thank you for being patient with me. If anybody's still here, drop in and say hello. So the original goal of tonight was to talk about how to make your coloring pop and how to make your cards pop. And through my years of coloring and card making, it's been a matter of learning to add the scary darks and to add the highlights and add dimensions. So we will go from there. Lisa, you're right. Amanda does rock. I have a feeling I'm going to miss a lot of people. I know it's happy Thanksgiving evening, and maybe you guys can catch me on the replay. So this is just some triangles that I had printed off from Canva. So when in doubt, go to Canva. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just a hair. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about are light source. All right. A lot of times we have no idea really what we're coloring, and anybody that I'm giving a card to really doesn't care if they don't really care, what my light source is, but I know it's something that everybody sort of has a hard time with. So I'm going to try to switch to my camera down at this point. And we'll see if that will work, because we're still, I think, having a few more tech issues. All right. So, like I said, these are two triangles that I printed off from Canva. And so, when you have a light source, typically whichever way the face of my stamp is facing, that is where the sun's coming from. But like this doesn't have one. So we can have a light source here. Good. Sandy sees the triangles. Thanks for coming back, Sandy. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Amanda. All right. So if your sun is here, let's find a new pen. So if your sun is here, all right, your highlight's going to be there, and it's going to exit down here. So in theory, down here is going to be your darkest. All right. So let's talk about that. When I color, I always say that I want the scary dark, and what makes your colors pop is usually if you have 3 to 4 Copic colors. So my favorite, I know this is a question that everybody asks, what are my favorite, what's my favorite Copic colors? So for red, it's never changed. It's R59, 29, 46, and 24. So if this is your light source, Lisa, thank you for shopping on the site. Now I will tell you that starting on tomorrow, there's going to be free shipping. So for you guys that are in the chat right now, I will go ahead and make that live so that you guys can take advantage of that. But that will be after the live is over. So in theory, this is your darkest part of your image, and it's exiting down here. So I'm going to add some of the darkest color down here. We're not going to get super technical with this coloring because we're doing a pretty generic coloring here. So the next color I'm using is R29. So that was R59 that we used. And now I always like to turn my markers or my paper so that the back of my marker is extending my shadow. So I don't really move on until I scrub over that line so there's not a huge delineation between the two colors. So in theory, this has the same amount of pigment or the same amount of alcohol in it, but you don't have nearly as the amount of like the same color tone on here. So you can see that that's a much more purple tone than that one. So I extended that all the way down because the end of the triangle is going to be in the shadow. So again, your light source is here and it's exiting down there. So my darkest color, which is the R59, is down here. Now I'm going to move in with my R446. Now in theory, R46 is your mid-tone. So this is the color that you see the most. And so again, I'm letting my marker scrub over that darker area until we get a nice blend. You don't want to move on until that blend is almost invisible, okay? And I'm not, this is a huge triangle, so you're not seeing me do a whole lot. I am going to close in this area, but I'm leaving a little bit of a hint of white, all right? So your lightest or your highlight color is going to be R24. Now I just, this is the first time I've colored since I've been home, so I am uncapping both of my markers just so that they don't burp and spew all over. Because that's a thing when you've got the altitude changes. So now I am scrubbing over this area where that lightest highlight is. And then I'm just extending that. So when you look at this, you're now seeing the sunlight bounce off of this area because it's the closest to our light source or the sun. And your darkest part is in the shadow. And this is what's going to make this 3D. Hi, Linda. How are you? I'm seeing that there is Carrie on here. Hello. So that was for this image. Let's see. Somebody is texting me. I want to make sure. Show pen caps again for a minute. All right. So let's see if this pen will work here. So it's I'm telling you guys, I'm a hot mess today. So that should just prove to you if I can do it, you can do it. I have a whole room of nothing but markers, and I don't have one pen that'll work. So it's R59, 29, 46, and 24. And that's how I'm getting that gradation. Now, let's pretend this is all fun and games today. So let's pretend the sun is directly over this one. So your lightest area is going to be here, and the darkest is going to be out there. Right? So this is going to be your darkest area. But since you've got a middle light source, so it's coming right down on the center, you're also going to have shadow on the two sides. Does that make sense? So you're going to have a little bit of shadow on this side, and your brightest area is going to be right here in the middle. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to put in my R59. And I'm just going to extend that up. And I'm doing this on a very exaggerated shape so that you guys can see it and kind of get the idea. This is not necessarily like, you know, I don't make these straight lines when I'm coloring normally because I have a much smaller footprint. So now I'm using the R29 and I'm scrubbing over that area. I do not move until I get that line kind of erased. So you kind of wash over the darker area and then you extend it up. And I'm still putting a little bit of shadow going up the triangle or the pyramid, however you want to think of it. So do you see how that's kind of shaping? let me see. I'm going to refresh my screen here so I can see your stuff. My internet's acting very slow today. And I apologize for all of the mishaps. Now I'm taking my R46. And I'm still scrubbing. Now this is a moment where I say, do what I say, or do what I say, not as I do. When you're coloring on a glass mat, you really should be having another piece of paper under there, because if you get the bleed through like I did here, that can actually come up through your paper. And so like say if I was doing a skin tone next, then that would bleed and it would pick up because it would reactivate the pigments with the new alcohol. So you want to always make sure that you've got a clean surface, and that would be prevented by putting the paper down underneath it. All right, so that's a pretty good indication of how the two light sources are going to go. If my sun was over on this left-hand side, then it would exit this way and you would do just the opposite. All right, we're going to move on to the next thing. Now we've got a circle. And the reason I chose the circle is we're doing a lot of ornaments this time of year. Now another trick that you can do if you want your reds to really pop and give it a luminous look is you can go down with a yellow. I like Y15 or 17 for this. And we're going to pretend this is like on a Christmas tree, so you've got light sources coming from everywhere. So I'm going to start out by coloring the entire circle. And again, this is a horrendous size, just so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm just filling that in. Honestly, with the size of this ornament or circle, I could have used my chisel, and just because I was laying down the color, you know, kind of haphazardly and dirty. So I'm still going to use my dark color, and this is the key, guys. When you use one or two colors, you're not going to get the depth and saturation of color, so you're not going to get all of the dimension or the shine that you guys are looking for. So I'm actually going to kind of scribble this in. Kind of scary. And I'm kind of patting it in. And maybe we'll just do like a small one here. Is anybody else like freaked out by the way that looks right now? It's a scary technique. And again, you got to remember, this is like an ornament. So you're going to have many different shadows. You're going to have many different highlights. So here I am with this R29. We're using the exact same color. And we're just going to extend this. And it's fine if you start to connect them. That's ultimately what we're doing. So my scary dark was the R59. Now we're coming in with what a lot of people would still consider as a scary dark, and it's the R29. They just happen to be more blue or more gray in them. So you have different tones. But that's what makes your images pop, because I noticed like on cards, it's the lack of differentiation in your colors, you know, because when we look at cards and we're looking at it straight on, it's so up close that you think that it looks like a hot mess. But when you hold it back like at arm's length and you see it the way everybody else would see it, then all of a sudden it doesn't look blotchy or disconnected. Now this is my mid-tone. This is the R46. Same exact thing that we've been doing. And you notice I'm just scrubbing over everything. We're not, like, this is not rocket science here. We are not doing anything different than just basic blending. It's just where we're putting our colors. All right. Now we're coming in with that R24. A lot scary. You take your cold meds. Yeah, I actually took some steroids too, Lisa, because I was having issues. But it seems like the household is starting to be a little bit on the mend. All right. So to me, this looks like a hot mess. But when I look at it on the screen, you're getting all of the dimensions of like everything that you would see, like different lights bouncing off. If you're not 100% happy with like the shapes that you put in, you can start going in and you can just like dab. So I'm actually using like when I color like streaks, I'm going straight up and down. I'm actually using the side of my marker now and I'm like dabbing. So I can connect some of these. And I'm just reworking my colors. And the thing about Copics is that with the alcohol that's in them, or Ohuhu, or Olo, or any of the other ones on the market, is you can reactivate those inks. Do you see how much of a difference that is? All right. Now this is the other thing that I think is a game changer for people, is the gel pen. The gel pen is your friend. Your gel pen is always your friend. There is not an image on the planet that should not have a little bit of gel pen. So I have a highlight here. And I'm going to put one and maybe and that right there kind of like ends up bringing a lot of differentiation in your colors. Now if you want even more drama, you can use this yellow again and sort of bleach everything out, and you're just popping that red. Do you see how that kind of washed that away? So your yellows, I don't care if you use a Y, like 15, 17, 18, 19, but it's going to give you a nice wash. So let's do that again without the yellow. I'm going to put down my R24, which is my highlight color. Did you see how I left a lot of white space? Love my gel pen or white. Yes, me too, Lisa. So I'm going to pretend, where do we want the sun? We're gonna have this, we're gonna pretend that this is not an ornament now. We're gonna have the sun here. So your brightest light is gonna be there and it's gonna exit down here. Light source here, exiting here. All right. And I know that this seems like kindergarten type coloring, but really you've got to take things back to the basics. So we're going to go here and we're going to make it like a little bit of a crescent moon shape. And then I'm going to extend that just to a point. All right. So you want those to get kind of skinny. This ball of fire has not had its turkey yet, so it's still loose stretch pants going on. All right, so we want that point to be there. Now I'm going to extend that on each side of this, and I'm just going to start closing in this crescent moon. And the one thing I didn't do is I didn't scrub over this. So it's not too late. I can still scrub over it to get some of that line out. So it just depends on how you want your coloring to look. Because again, we're extremely zoomed in right now. And we are in a huge image. This is like, I don't know, like a 2.5 inch circle right now. So did you see the one thing I'm not doing? I have not closed in those white areas because Copics or any alcohol marker are translucent color, meaning that you can build them up and they add more saturation. So I'm leaving a lot of white there because now we're going to have a super light space because we're going to finally close this in with that original first color. Okay, so that was the 2.9 and the 4.6. So now we're coming in with the 2.4. let's see. What are you saying about copper, Marianne? I'm scrubbing this color so that we don't have any of those lines. I'm starting to close that in. And then if I'm happy with my blend, which I am, now I'm going to take one swipe. And now you see how that highlight is brighter, even though this color and this color are exactly the same. So what can we do here? It's going to be the same thing where we're going to add some gel pen. And I like, so what's going to make your stuff pop? It's awesome to put your highlight in your highlight area. But if you come in here and kind of put a wedge right here in the dark, now all of a sudden you've got like a super bright highlight, and that's what gives you, that's what makes your images look 3D, even though we're on, you know, just like a flat sheet of paper. Does that make any sense? Does anybody have any questions? I have a little bit of a lag on my feed today, so I'm trying to keep up. All right, so that was cool. Oh, wow, that was cool. All right, cool. Everybody loves that. All right, one more thing, and I was not going to do this, but Nerdy Crafter said I should. We're going to do, like, the shine, like a metallic shine. We could do it in gold, but if you're just starting out, the best way to do this is with your, like, cool grays, but you can do it, like, with your yellows. Now I'm coming in with a baby wipe and I'm cleaning off my desk because I have that red and I don't want that to seep through as I'm coloring, because once you get red smearing, it'll never ever come out. I shouldn't say never, but it's hard. So we're going to do this pretty generic, as if the sun is like right in the center. So you can be as generic with this as you want. Now I'm going to pretend that's not there, because we're not, if we were looking at a can, you wouldn't see that line per se. It's just what I had found on Canva. So no smoke and mirrors here. I'm not making this up like this is a stamp or anything like that. These are just basic shapes that I was able to pull off of Canva and print. So if you struggle with coloring, I would suggest that you like make something in Canva. Canva's free. There are paid versions of it, but you can do that. Hardest is, yeah, Marianne, you're right. It is the hardest one to push back. That was the C7. So when I color with Copics, I usually skip at least 2 color families. So like there's a C7, then a C6. I'm going with a C5. So from here, I'm just going to scrub that line, letting the back of my marker do the work. Kind of bleach out the back and get those to blend. And I'm always turning my paper so that my back of my marker can do the work. I shouldn't say always, because you guys are going to catch me in a lie at some point. And again, you don't move on until that stripe is gone. Now I am moving to a C3. So we're skipping a step of gray. I wanted to uncap for a second to burp my markers because, like I said, I was traveling and the altitudes can play havoc. So now I'm letting the back of my marker, so the point, when I say that, the point of my marker is out here and the back is here. So I'm letting that marker do the work. Instead of me doing the work and really having to like scrub, I'm letting like the tip extend and I'm letting the back blend. If somebody wants to come up with an acronym that's not dirty, y'all are free to put that in the comments. All right. Not a lie, an exception. You're right, Sandy. So right now, Prickly Pear has an issue with her. Well, I think that my marker is ready to poop out. But anyway, Prickly Pear has 20% off all clear stamps and dies. And I do not like this marker. I don't know what happened. We're going to go to a C2 because that C1 obviously has had some contamination. Again, extending those colors. I'm trying to bleach out that, I think it picked up a red or something, and whatnot. But do you see how that's now got a nice shine? Now that kind of bleached out a little bit. So there's nothing that says that you can't go back in with your scary darks. So again, that's my C7. And I am breaking my rule right now. I'm using my tip of my marker instead of like the whole thing. And that's just because I don't want to get overzealous with my shadow. But it's the shadow that's going to make everything come alive. Just in that little bit of scrubbing with the C7, you're seeing how different and how round this looks. This is my C5. And I'm not really working my back of my marker right now because I want some of that delineation so that you guys can see that this is a rounded cylindrical item. So this is my C3. And I'm going to go to my C2. Normally it would be a C1. And you're going to see that nice change. Because I have so much ink on there because I was trying to bleach out that center where that red was picking up in the C1. I'm using a C4 as a midtone. So there we go. So how do we translate all of this? I am not going to put in the highlights here like with a marker. Oh, I'm sorry, with a gel pen. But how do we translate this for Santa and Rudolph? Santa and Rudolph are we're going to pretend the sun is in the center. Or, you know what? No, let's not. We're going to say that the sun is over here into the left side. So Santa is going to be really bright over here and dark down here. His nose is going to be especially bright because it's where the sun would hit first. And down here is going to be the darkest. All right? Lisa and Marianne are becoming friends. That's good. All right, so again, we're doing exactly the same thing that we've been doing. We're using this R59, and since the sun is up here and it's exiting down here, this is actually going to be in shadow. I'm sorry, shoot, I just said that wrong. I said that wrong. Now you guys get to see me bleach out my stuff. I am taking a 0 and I'm going to bleach this out as much as I possibly can. And if anybody ever tells you that the 0 marker is a blender marker, they're lying to you. It is actually a eraser. See how that's kind of taking it out? It also pushes your color. So my red is now outside of the line. I always kind of fan it. So basically I push it to the back of the fibers of the paper, and it also pushes it out of the lines. But we're going to keep moving. So where this fur would be from the hat, there's going to be a huge cast shadow. So I'm making that bigger than I normally would. And we're going to come down. I hear that there's some talk about some brushes going on in the chat. They are wonderful. It's all I use. Let's see. Rudolph is wearing a sweater. Yes. Judy Rosima, who is my DT coordinator, she did him on a pink card. If you want to check out our Instagram. She did this so stinking cute, like an all pink card, and I think Rudolph was wearing a pink sweater too, and it was adorable. So check that out. So nobody says that you have to be red and green for Christmas. I'm a traditional kind of girl, so I tend to go red and green. And I also always go with red and green because they're opposite of each other on the color wheel. So red and green really pop. Now, here's where I'm coming in with that R24 at the top. So you can see that it's much lighter up here and it's way darker down here. Now, if you want to pronounce this cast shadow that the fur would give us, we could go in, like, let's say with a C5. So for those of you who don't have full set syndrome like me, you can actually tone all of your stuff. You could get the same look by using your grays and putting your grays down first, and then coming over with one or two colors of the reds. Do you see how that darkened that? Do we need to... I'm going to come in just a hair so you guys can see that. Now you remember I had pushed some of that out. So sticking with my shadowing, we're going to come over here to the arm. And there is going to be a natural shadow here by the tuft of the arm. There's also going to be a shadow where the belly and the beard are casting a shadow. And then because this is the furthest away from the sun or the light source, that's going to have it. But do you see, I did not extend that R59 all the way across the tuft, because you're still going to have a differentiation in shadow because of the sun. So I'm using my R29 and I'm scrubbing the back with my marker. And I put a little bit right there under the collar. So right now we've got a really small space. If you are not able to get a fourth color in, then I would say skip to the R24. And I barely dab that in. So Mary Ann is talking about the, I think all of you guys are talking about the Rabbit Hole Cottontail blending brushes. And I know there are a lot of them on the market. And I have used Rabbit Hole blending brushes, the minis, like the itty bitty blender, and also the larger brushes. And to me, that they're the best on the market. And I'm not just saying that. I truly do believe it. Now, mind you, the sun is still going to be, like, this is the part that's going to be highlighted, but this leg overlaps the other one, so I'm still putting in a nice shadow here. I'm going thicker than I normally would. I'm also going in with this R59 underneath the tuft. All right, but we're also, this part of the leg is still going to be, on this right leg, is still going to be in shadow because it's further away from the sun. So I am going to leave a little bit of a light. I'm drawing a line here. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can, once I'm done with all my blending, then I can go in with a lighter color. So this is going to be in shadow, and there's going to be a little bit of a highlight so that you get the 3D dimension. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and do a cast shadow here. And you could be doing this in your C5 or your C7 if you don't have all of the markers. But you've got, I'm going to say this 1,000 times, you've got to use the scariest dark. Like, like my colors are a 2-4 and a 4-6. And then I'm using 2 9s. So if it tells you how much that you have to have dark in order to have light, you've got to use your 9s in order to make these images pop. And that you give it this, you know, the glow and the idea of being 3-dimensional. I'm going to go ahead and extend this a little bit. And this. Now, I'm not going to leave a whole lot of room for highlight because this is the under part and you do have the bag. Right now, I'm doing like a little curve in there. And that's just so that we get an idea that there's a wrinkle or there's something going on with the pants a little bit. So we've got both legs started. Now, if this was not alive and I was actually coloring, I would color all the white, the beard, all the fur, and even the skin tones. Because if you go out of the lines and you pick up the red, you're going to smear that in. I'm not planning on finishing this this coloring tonight. I'm kind of doing this more for you guys. So I said that this was still in shadow because it's the furthest away from the sun. So I am using this mid-tone and I'm coloring it all the way through. Okay. And now I'm going to kind of round this out a little bit. I'm going to extend that little shadow. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do one swipe of color right here. And I'm still leaving a little bit of white. The sketched iris. You know what, Sandy? I'll give that a try and maybe we'll do that together and see how it goes. So now I'm using, oh crap. I'm using the R24, so I used an R29. But again, we were in shadow, so we didn't mess it up too much. So do you see how that's starting to come together now? And by leaving that tiny little bit of sliver there, you're giving the illusion that there's more movement going on, that it's 3D. If you hate that line, I do not hate it. I would leave it. But you could go in with your R24 and you could close it. So what color, Sandy, what colors do you have? Do you have like a 2.4 or a 2.9? Because if you do, then you would be able to use your C5, your C3, and you could put in your shadows. Or, you know, any type of gray. You could use your toners, you could use your neutrals, whichever you prefer to use. So Sandy, if you don't have, what kind of markers do you have? My husband just got a hoo-hoo markers for his birthday because he wants to learn how to alcohol color and he doesn't want to do that. You know, I'm not going to let him use my markers until he knows what he's doing. So Mary Ann says she's a watercolor and pencil person. So the same thing would be true. You could go in with your darkest red, like whether you're watercoloring or if you're pencil coloring or if you're alcohol marker coloring, you're still going to put in your scary darks. And if you don't have them all, use your grays. All right, so this arm, we're still going to have a shadow here and a shadow here where the crease is. And this part's going to be the darkest. And I'm going to put a little wrinkle in. And there's going to be a shadow, believe it or not, on the back side of that. Cali Art, they were cheaper, so they see if they would. So if they're an alcohol based, I have not used that brand, but they should work. Now, you're not going to get the same results with like the Cali Art that you are with Copic, because these were developed for artists, especially like cartoonists and for drafting. So you're not going to have the same precision, but would I still use them and would I learn them? I say you use whatever you have and you get good at it. There is no right or wrong. I started out with Spectrum Noir, so I would never go to Copic because of the price, and you see what I'm coloring with. So it's just because they really are the best. But I think Olo and even Ohuhu, I have not tried the Ohuhu, so I don't want to fully speak on it. But from what I can tell, all the markers on the market are improving, which I think is a good thing to give all the companies a run for their money and let everybody improve within the market. So there, I just filled in the R24. So we did the exact same thing that we did with these other images. Do you see that? We still have our lightest to our darkest. We left a little bit of highlight, and we've got everything in place the exact same way that we did here. But let's wait. Let's talk about this for a minute. What can we do to make things pop? This is especially true like for eyes. If you like put like a little like dot in there, you're going to really make things pop. And since it's Christmas, you could do something like little stars, just to give a little bit of whimsy in your coloring. And there should be like a little bit of a highlight here. And maybe, again, I want to go somewhere in the scary dark, so I'm still going to go down here because it draws your eye. Let's do something. I'm going to do like a little star here. And it just adds just a little bit of whimsy. Thank you, Lisa and Sandy. You guys, I don't feel like this is my best coloring today. I was a little rattled with our technical difficulties. But here we go. We're here, and we should do this. I talked about the golds. So this is the season for all the shiny things and all of the glitter and glam. So we're going to do Rudolph. Now, I know that Rudolph's nose is red. You know it. But we're going to talk about how to do like gold. And the reason I'm doing this specifically is because you all have asked me for my favorite colors. And so I'm trying to deliver on that. This is a very small space for the Rudolph, so we don't have this big image like we have here, so let's keep that in mind. I am going to start with my Y11. Y11, 15, 18, 26, and E23. Alright, so Y11. Man, that was hard. We are putting in that, we're just coloring him with that same way. Alright, and now we're going to use the Y18. And we're going to kind of do that crescent moon again. Trying to leave a point, which I'm not doing a very good job because, again, it's small. And that's kind of the purpose, is that I'm trying to show you guys that no matter how long you've been coloring, you not always have all the space to do what everybody else does. And that's the thing. So now we're kind of getting that gradient. That was the Y15. Now I'm going to come in with the E23. E23 is brown. It's called hazelnut. But this is what your scary dark is going to be. Did you notice I put that in two different spots? And we just barely dabbed that in. Now, if you really want this to come alive, you come in with this Y26. And you guys, I cleaned my markers before I went to Arizona, and I even colored it. I even cleaned them while I was there. But from being on the plane, it causes a lot of that stuff to kind of drip. So I will later on go through with like an alcohol wipe and clean off those the gray part of my marker. And I'm barely doing that Y26, but that kind of has like a green undertone, I think. And all of a sudden you've got this huge like contrast between the E23, the Y26, and then the lighter colors. Now I am going to use my Y15 because that would be my mid-tone in a 5 color blend. So we've got 3 there. So your 15 and 18 are actually your mid-tones. So you have 2. 18 tends to get dark. I don't want Rudolph's nose to be dark. So I am just blending a little bit with this Y15 to make him come alive. And now do we see how that kind of pops? Do we need to see it again, like on a bigger item? This is in no way going to be a card. This is in no way going to be anything that any of us would want to color. But I am going to do it again so y'all can see how to do the golds. I'm coming in with Y11. And normally, most people teach you to color dark, lightest to dark, and then come back into your lightest again. And the reason they do that is most papers need to be primed. If you get the fibers moistened, then your stuff blends better. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I like working darkest to light, but in this situation, I am going to prime it because I've got these colors that are a wide array of saturations. So I want to make sure that I get a good blend. So I'm coming in with my E23 first, and we're going to do this kind of sparing because we just want the gold there to be a tint to it. And do you see how I kind of round that out? Instead of having like those like straight lines like this that look harsh, I always try to put like a little bit of a curve to it and feather it out. And there is going to be a little bit of a shadow here. And do you see how I'm rounding that out around that curve? You don't ever want really harsh straight lines because it's not natural. And I think we're gonna go ahead and give this some wrinkles. Like so. All right. Next, I am skipping that Y26. Y26 is one of the very last things that I do because it's a cool color, but it's not always the easiest color. So I'm coming up here with my Y18. And I'm turning my paper. Notice I haven't touched that wrinkle yet. I'm just trying to get this to blend because we're going from a yellow to a brown. So I'm always extending my lines on both sides. And that's how you're getting your dimension. Now I'm coming in with the Y15. Now Y15 is going to be my mid-tone, so it's the color that you see the most. So I'm going to really fill in these gaps. Looks like a hot mess right now, you guys. And I know. Because first of all, what Santa has a gold bag? I mean, he must be like Santa got big bucks or something. But we're doing this for the sake of teaching some shine. Now I'm filling in with that Y11, which is my midtone. And if you have to, you can come in with another yellow. Or here's another trick, guys. This is your Y15. So these are like 4 steps apart from each other in theory. So this is my darkest color and I'm doing tip to tip. So I'm picking that up onto my tip, onto my lightest tip, and I'm coloring that in. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think I want a Y19. Actually, I'm going to do a 17. 17 is actually darker than 19. I don't know why, but it is. And so I'm just trying to get more of a gold tone with that E23. So even though these are like my favorite blends, I still sometimes change it up depending on what I'm feeling. And I think it's just that the yellow is so different from the red. So I'm trying to, account for some of that. Now I'm going to come in with that Y26. Do you see how that almost makes that orange? I'm really working this because I'm kind of having an issue getting this blended tonight, and you know, that's okay. You just have to keep working it. There is a point in which your paper will no longer be able to handle any more pigment. Like, you've filled up all the pores, all the fibers. But right now we have not reached that situation. So now I'm coming in with that Y15. I'm kind of going over that again. And now I'm kind of happy with that. Now, in real life, I would have had those wrinkles a little bit less. You know, they would have been finer. Marianne, that's a very good idea. So Marianne is saying that you could do the glass board. So we're going to show you that. We're going to go back to one of these triangles. And I'm going to use an R24 and an R29 because they're very opposite of each other. Or, I mean, they're the same family, but they are different. All right. So if we are coloring with this R29, which would be our scary dark. Okay. And then we have this R24. And I want you to see the difference in the colors before I start doing tip to tip blending. This is really ugly coloring right now. Do you see how that those are completely different shades? If I come in, she wants me to put it down my glass mat. So I'm coloring on my glass mat right here. And yes, I used a lot because I can't tell what's in screen right now. So now I'm using my R24 and I'm picking that up off of my glass mat. And this does not hurt your marker. I'm going to give everybody a heart attack right now because I want them to see that you do not ruin your markers. Here's a colorless blender. So you can see there's no color at all. But you can go ahead and you can pick up and you get a huge variation in color. And you can take it out to a pink. Am I out of frame? I am. I'm so sorry, you guys. All right, let's do it again. So, colorless blender, I'm going to clean it off. And by cleaning it off, I'm just going to a piece of paper and I'm just rubbing that on that tip until it's almost white. So I've got basically a white marker here, clear marker. I'm picking that up off the glass. Until I get a pink. So this is to show you that you do not have to have all of the markers. Do I want to have all the markers? Yes, because I'm insane. And I love what I do, and it was an investment and it was a learning thing, but there's the difference. So this is what the R29 looks like. This is what the R24 looks like. And by using your color that's on your mat, you can get all of those differentiations just by using your colorless blender. When you're done doing that, you see how I have a little bit of pink on mine still? I'm just going to keep doing this until it bleaches it out and it's gone. So that's why I'm telling you that your colorless blender is more of a eraser than it is whatnot. Sandy, do you need me to do that again? All right, I was off screen, so we're going to go back. This is your R29. We're going to do the same exact thing here. That was the R29, Scary Dark. This is your R24. Huge difference in that blending. It's almost ugly. What's on the mat is the R29. So I'm going tip to tip. So I'm dipping my lighter color into the darker, and then I'm scrubbing over it. And it only goes so long, and then it starts to bleach out, so you've got to keep picking up that color. All right, so I think we've kind of exhausted what that's going to look like. Let's see. I do have another set of circles. Let's see what. Okay, it's Christmas, so you guys have seen this on my channel 100 times, but we're still talking about what are my favorite colors for Copics. Now, if this was a tree or a plant, I would start with a YG01. But we're going to do this as if it's more Christmas. So I'm doing a YG67. and 03. Now you see that none of those colors really match. Like they're not numerical, but in fact these have the exact same amount of pigment, or saturation, but they're different levels of color. So the 6-7 is more of a darker, has a little bit of a blue tint to it. So I'm pretending that my sun is up here and our light is there, and it's coming out here. But you say, why did I put that crescent moon in there? Because I just want to give it a different look. I want to give it more of a bubble look. So I've got that there. And that's the YG67. And now we're coming in with YG17. And you're going to see how terrible how these don't really go together. So I'm using my tip of my marker, and I'm extending it, and I'm letting the back of it do the blending, and I don't move on until I've got that blended. And if you're putting down too much liquid so that it's too wet, you can always wait until it dries so you can see what you're doing. And so how do you know if it's wet? One, you can touch it. If it's cold to the touch, then you know that it's still wet, and it also will show like some signs on the back. So here I'm still I'm breaking my rule, extending, okay. So we've got some really different shades here. Now we're starting again where we are letting the back of the marker do the work. Scrub, 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 and extend. Scrub, scrub, scrub to get rid of that line. Scrub, scrub, scrub. All right. So now I'm just going to keep doing this. My YGs need to be refilled really bad. I used them a lot when I was in Arizona. So I need to refill those, which will be on my list. So now that I've got this kind of the way I want it, so this would be really a good blend for Grinch. Okay? Now, I could take my YG03 and I could color in all those white spots. But I'm going to use this almost fluorescent looking YG01. And I am not blending this. I'm barely going over it. I'm just swiping. And then you've got this really, really defined highlight. And you might say that this is almost garish looking. I would agree with you. But when you look at it from far away, because we are very zoomed in right now, it does not look as harsh. And again, if you put your highlights in your darkest area with your pen, with your gel pen, all of a sudden you're brightening all of that up. And I would still go here and maybe, so I didn't put them directly in a straight line. They're different depths away from the black line of the stamp or the image. You think it looks kind of cool? Awesome. That's what I wanted to hear. So the key takeaway of this entire thing is your gel pen is your friend. And I'm just going to say this. Your black gel pen is also your friend. And I say that because if you go over the eyes, you will get a nice glaze look. So let's just pretend this is an eye. Like, I'm not an artist, y'all. Okay? If we do that, that one almost looks like an alien eye, for lack of better words. But then, once you get your gel pen, let's see if I can get mine started. Nope, not gonna work. So let's use, trying to think what we could use here. So if you had some like crystal lacquer or glossy accents, you would get the same thing with your thing, but it kind of raises it so it's got dimension. But let's pretend that these are eyes. When you have an eye, this is the pupil. You'll have the iris and everything around it. When you have glares, and I see this all the time, you see like a dot here and a dot here. Okay? You want your dots to be exactly in the same spot. It doesn't change because it's on your right eye or your left. Then if you want, then once you have your iris, so this is elementary coloring at this point. But let's say that this is your iris. Now, mind you, we would still have the right white of the eyes and all that stuff in there. And I can show you how to do that later on. But let's just say this is Thanksgiving Eve, and, there's not a lot of people on. But then you take that gel pen. I need some Amanda Stevens pens. Pear Blossom Press has the best gel pens, but by breaking that up, all of a sudden you make those eyes come alive. I did shake it towards the tip. I was like ready for it to explode. Let's see. All right, Jelly Roll 10. And all of a sudden those eyes come alive. So back to our triangles. And I'm gonna do one here. I always kind of follow with like dots. And the thing about gel pens in general is it's a free floating ball that's in there, so you've got to like have a light touch, because when you go hard on it, you're going to get those streaks. So see how that's not solid, and then you end up having to color it in. But what if we just started adding like little stars here? Then you get the whimsy of the season very easily. Here with this can, I would almost do a highlight there. We're going to pretend those lines aren't there, and we're going to, like so, and you end up bringing that alive. So again, to repeat that, I'm going around the top, adding some dots, coloring that in. And that's what brings your images alive. So I've got this bold highlight in the center saying that it's a round object. And then I've got here where I'm following that line of the natural can, so that you've got a highlight there just to trick the eye into thinking that it's got more dimension and more depth into the thing. So that is what I have for tonight, folks. This is not a card making session. This was not about, you know, the design level of it. Next time I come back, I want to talk about color theory, and I want to talk about the color wheel. And we will get into that, and we will make a card next time. But this is what I've got tonight. I'm going to go spend some time with my husband, who is downstairs not feeling so well. So I'm going to go say hi to him. So, all right, so you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to give you a heads up. I will put in the Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday specials. What is it, 10:15 my time? I'll do that by midnight tonight, and that you guys will be able to take care of it. So I always say that anybody who's on my lives, they get the deals first. So I will put those live on the site within the next 2 hours, and then you guys can shop if you want. We do have free shipping Friday through Monday. Did I say that right, Lisa? No, it's the 23rd. So it's going to be Thursday through Monday. So if I were you, I would maybe get online first thing at midnight tomorrow, and I would take advantage of some of those sales. I am going to not ship anything until after Cyber Monday. So on Tuesday, I'll start shipping. So if you guys place multiple orders to get the deals, or if you say, oh, I should have gotten that, whatever it is, I'm not going to ship until Tuesday. That way I can combine shipping and save a little bit of my money and a little bit of some of the overhead there. But I thank you so much for all of your help. But on Black Friday, there is a bundle that's over 50% off, and you guys want to check that out. It's going to be great for sentiments and just for overall card making. All right, toodles, guys. Love you. Bye-bye.